Hey, welcome back. If you have followed this video series up to this point, you might have already installed your Windows subsystem for Linux, then OpenClaw on top of that. You have connected your LLM, which is OpenRouter or something else, and then you have connected your messenger of choice. In my example, that was WhatsApp. So now today we are going to set up the skills to connect to the Paprika app to read recipes and then do the meal planning, and that meal planning goes then onto our Google Keep shopping list. That is another skill we need to have a bridge to Google Keep. So whenever we look for a new skill for OpenClaw, the first place to go should be ClawHub. It's the official skill registry, and you can see here under skills that there are already a lot of skills available. We have around about 22,000 by now, but there is no proper quality checking here, and that means you always need to treat everything you find on ClawHub with caution. So let's search for Paprika, see if there is something, and it pops up right away. We have access, recipes, meal plans, and grocery lists from Paprika Recipe Manager, which is good. So let's click on it. You can see here that this skill has been downloaded 1,800 times, and we have 4 current installs, which looks a little bit out of balance. A lot of downloads, very few installs, but from my experience I know that this skill still works. But if the ratio is even worse, then that could be an indication that the installations maybe are fixed versions and a lot of downloads led nowhere. And then we have a virus scan that was okay, but OpenClaw here says suspicious, and that is because of the credentials we put into the skill file here, the skill.md file, and for that reason it was marked as suspicious. Nevertheless, I can say that it worked. And scrolling down here, we have a list of all the files. In this case, it's just the skill.md, and md is short for Markdown. Markdown is our way of talking with the LLM. We don't need to program here like in a programming language. We say in natural language, these are the instructions for the skill, and we describe it in a way, in a structured way, we would describe it to a human. And if it can all be done only with instructions, then basically this MD file is already sufficient for a whole skill implementation. And then depending on your functionality, if you need more, let's say you want to call a binary, then you would of course need to add those files as well to the skill, but you find a lot of skills only with the MD file, like the Paprika here. So all we need now for the installation is the slug. You can copy it here from the URL, that is Paprika. Then we go back into our shell, and with the cd command, change directory, we say, okay, swang dash slash dot OpenClaw, and that should bring you into the application root directory of your OpenClaw installation. Let's make an ls Lisa to show you what we have. You see the subfolders and you see the main configuration file, which is openclaw.json. We want to go into the workspace folder, and within the workspace folder you see that we have there are several important markdown files. Most important for you, I would say, is identity and user. Identity says what is the identity of OpenClaw, if you want to give it a name, if you want some special behavior. In the user file, you define who you are, but for the moment, we can also skip that and create a skills directory because it does not yet exist. mk directory skills. There it is. And then cd skills. So now we are within the folder, and the first thing we do is now install the Paprika skill. That goes via command clawhub install, and then the slug, which is Paprika. Okay, and now that the skill is installed, we can go into the skill directory. Let's make another ls Lisa. And you can see that we have our skill.md. And in this case, that's only for the Paprika skill. We need to enter our credentials there. For that, we use nano as an editor. And then be careful, it's case sensitive. Uppercase skill.md, enter. And in the editor here, we need to add our credentials for the Paprika app. And please make sure that in your Paprika app, cloud synchronization is enabled. Otherwise, the API will not find any data, any recipes, and that might be confusing. Okay, so I say my email at mail.com, just as an example, and then here my personal password, and then Control O, enter, and Control X. All right, let's double check. And that has worked. Control X to leave again. Then let us restart the gateway. OpenClaw gateway restart to make sure everything's all up to date after the skill installation. And then let's check if our skill is really ready to use. OpenClaw skills list -eligible. And that gives us a list of all the installed skills. And also you can see now Paprika here at the bottom, and Paprika is ready. So we are good to go. And we can now start working with the skill. So we go back to our chat interface. We say new session, also here to be on the safe side. Can you get all my recipes? Okay, we have good luck. Sometimes it would just refuse to use the Paprika skill. In this case, it realized, okay, there is something installed. And then it says it's installing some dependencies. Okay, it found in the skill MD this instruction to install the command line interface. And now it says I need to authenticate. Could you run auth in the terminal? And we know that we have already provided our credentials. So let's say credentials for Paprika skill are already provided. Authentication is done. Derive recipes now. Okay, and that looks very good, I would say. It found the API, it derived all the information in JSON format, and then it summarized me here what recipes I have. And it also determined the total number of recipes, which is 21. Okay, that looks very good. And I can now say, give me a formatted list of all recipes you find in Paprika, include title, preparation instructions, and ingredients with quantities. And you can see here that it works. So perfect. Paprika has now established a connection. It can derive recipes, but we want to make sure it can do the same next time we ask for it. And we can achieve that by advising OpenClaw explicitly to store this information in the memory.md file. So we say, you have just learned to derive recipes from Paprika using the Paprika skill. Please remember that in the future store the information in your memory.md file right now. Let me know when you are done. All right. And let's go back to the shell and look into the memory file. First, ls Lisa, you can see that we have no file so far. So it should now write the initial version of the file. And it now says successfully wrote 1458 bytes. Let's double check if you have the file now here, and you can see that it was just created. And if you already have that file and if you ask for an update, always make sure that the timestamp here is updated. So that's an indication that OpenClaw really changed the file. Let's look into it. Nano mstart, it also works. And then we can see here the information that was stored with regards to this Paprika recipe process. And in the next video, we talk about adding the Google Keep Access skill, and we will also go further into the development and adjustment of existing skills.